I don't care how good the game is, no one is making me wear these accessories at my age. Hey everyone, I'm Ricky with WatchMojo, and today we're counting down our picks for the top 10 most embarrassing video game accessories that make everyone look stupid. No exceptions.
It enables you to get involved in your video games with your entire body. It's not just hand-eye coordination anymore, Gare.
For this list, we'll be looking at goofy video game accessories that make their users look absolutely ridiculous, and we'll be ranking them based on pure silliness. Alright, let's laugh at number 10. Number 10. Fragmaster. Back in the day, there were a million accessories meant for first-person shooters, many of which promised better aim or a more immersive experience. Of course, none of them were as reliable as a good old-fashioned mouse. One of the most egregious examples is the Fragmaster, a weird, alien-looking artifact that promised intuitive controls. It was anything but intuitive, as you were forced to crouch over, grip it with both hands, and juggle 4 different triggers and 6 separate buttons. Meanwhile, your buddy is simply sitting back and popping off heads the good old-fashioned way. Number 9. DK Bongos. If there's one thing parents love to hear, it was their children banging away on a set of plastic bongos. These things were meant to be played with the Donkey Konga series and Donkey Kong Jungle Beat, and they worked similar to the plastic guitars from Guitar Hero. Only, these were infinitely more annoying, seeing as how you had to bang on them to make them work. Plus, you can only look so cool sitting on the floor with a pair of cheap plastic bongos between your legs. But hey, they look fine sitting on a shelf as a piece of DK memorabilia, so there's always that. Number 8. Sega Activator.
You have in your possession the Sega Activator, the ultimate full-body game controller.
By the early 90s, virtual reality was all the rage and was being hailed as the next step in gaming. Problem is, virtual reality is incredibly expensive, so companies released cheap alternatives like the notoriously awful Virtua Boy and the Sega Activator.
3, 5, and 7 act as the directional pad. When hit individually, panels 4 and 6 are like the A button. When hit together, they're the start move.
The latter was a plastic octagon that you sat on the floor and stood inside. It sent beams of invisible light toward the ceiling, and players were required to break these beams with their limbs, which in turn sent a signal to the console. And voila! Virtual reality gaming. Only it never worked, and users looked ridiculous standing inside of a cheap plastic octagon throwing shadow punches and kicks like they were Jean-Claude Van Damme. It's a period-appropriate reference.
Alright, panel, what do you think? Is this wild or what?
Who won?
Number 7. Donkey Kong Controller Gloves. The Nintendo 64 controllers were notoriously slippy, and many people had troubles keeping a grip, resulting in many a dropped and broken controller. Wait, no, that rarely, if ever, happened. But that didn't stop Nintendo from making controller gloves. These gloves slipped over the controller, allowing for a stronger grip. Only, you had to give the controller a little glove, and the bewildered stares you got from friends probably wasn't worth the trouble. They also looked weirdly unrefined, as if maybe someone was just like making them at home. These could be purchased through Nintendo Power, but we don't know of a single person who actually bought them. That said, maybe they're worth a pretty penny today. Who knows? Number 6. The Kid Icarus 3DS stand.
You'll definitely want to try playing with and without the stand once you get the game. Some people prefer to use it. I know I do.
Silly looking or not, we have respect for the accessories that were at least attempting to do something innovative. But lazy stuff like this really gets us worked up.
It's a simple stand, but it's handy for games such as this that use the stylus and circle pad simultaneously.
Bundled with Kid Icarus Uprising was a ridiculous stand on which you could rest the 3DS. It's literally just a black piece of plastic with a little edge to sit the console on. Yeah, you could whip it out every time you wanted to play the game and face some stairs, or you could just use your pinky to stabilize the console like literally everyone else.
Or hold the system with both hands while keeping a clear 3D image. The stand can also be conveniently folded down, making it quite compact.
Number 5. The GameCube and N64 Microphones.
Pikachu. Huh. Pikachu.
Pikachu.
We're sorry, but yelling into a plastic microphone in your living room will never not look stupid. Like virtual reality, many gaming companies tried making microphones a thing. The GameCube had a gray microphone that looked like a plastic metal detector that was meant to be played with Mario Party 6 and 7. Meanwhile, the N64 had the more official sounding voice recognition unit, which consisted of a massive gray box, a thin microphone, and a yellow foam ball. To make matters worse, this was designed for high-pitched children's voices, which meant it often didn't work for adults. As if screaming into a yellow foam microphone sticking out of your controller wasn't embarrassing enough. Number 4. Game Boy Hip Klip. Man, the 90s really were a weird time for video game accessories. The Game Boy Color was all the rage back in the day, and like all portable handhelds, people wanted to carry them around so they could play it at their leisure. And what are you gonna do? Carry it in your pocket or backpack? Of course not. You're gonna buy the Hip Klip. The Hip Klip was a little plastic holster that was placed on your hip so you could carry around your Game Boy Color and pretend to be a cowboy. Sure, it's convenient, but it looks ridiculous and is guaranteed to turn a few heads. And no, not in a good way.
Dan?
Number 3. Power Pad.
Ready? Let's do it.
The new Power Pad. It's only available in Nintendo's new Power Set. Now you're playing with body power.
The Power Pad mat is essentially a primitive form of Dance Dance Revolution, requiring the user to step on various pressure sensor buttons to control the on-screen action. The idea behind the Power Pad really isn't that bad. After all, DDR made an absolute killing doing the exact same thing. Unfortunately, it was released with the NES game World Class Track Meet, a game that required you to run in place for minutes at a time. And if we've learned anything from this fiasco, it's that an adult running in place on a cheap plastic mat adorned with colorful buttons looks really, really goofy.
You are the game. You are the power.
Number 2. Aura Interactor.
If we are going forward, who's going to test it?
Yo, dudes, anybody got a video game?
Is the world ready for the Interactor?
The Aura Interactor actually holds the distinction of being the first commercially available haptic suit. Unfortunately, this is the only cool thing about it. This complicated and obtrusive accessory was a massive black piece of plastic that you wore on your back like a backpack.
Enter the virtual reality world of the Interactor, where all the action jumps off the screen and into your gut.
It converted bass sounds from the game into physical vibrations. It was promoted alongside Mortal Kombat 2, so users could physically feel the punches and kicks from their on-screen opponents. It was a glorified subwoofer that was strapped to your back and prevented you from sitting, so you really just looked like an off-brand Ghostbuster awkwardly standing in front of the TV.
The world's first interactive game vest that lets you feel the action.
What have we done?
Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure to go into your settings and switch on notifications. Number 1. Konami Laser Scope.
Put the visor on, sort of like the data trans network. All right, increase the volume. Okay, let's do it.
The Konami Laser Scope is truly one of the most baffling things in video game history. It was a wearable light gun that allowed the user to yell into the microphone to control any game compatible with the NES Zapper.
You put it on, look through the crosshairs at the picture, and give it a voice command. Fire!
It looked absolutely ridiculous, and it was a cheap piece of plastic that you wore like headphones, complete with a massive microphone and a protruding eyepiece that sat over the right eye. You also had to yell into the microphone, ensuring that you both looked and sounded stupid while playing a relatively simple video game.
The Laser Scope is out already, and this game will be coming out in April. I retire this in glory.
I wish I was at the meeting for the people who invented these things. Like, who thought this was actually innovation? Anyways, guys, as always, thank you for joining us. Please let me know which one of these accessories you have worn down in the comments, because I know you've worn at least one of them, and check out this video over here.